And so basically I took a leap of faith.
Yay!
We do interaction here, people. You're going to have to warm up. Okay. And now I work for myself. So I'm from a little council estate in Brent. Anybody ever ventured down there?
Yay!
Yeah? Any council estate people here?
Yay!
Yeah? People who've made it? Who've tried to get off the estate? Anybody here, or is it just me? Thank you very much.
I did a Keeley but many years ago.
I know you're from Brent, me and you've connected already.
We have.
So I grew up in Brent and single parent family, you know the story. And I worked at IKEA. Excuse me, can you leave the yellow bag behind, please? That was me. No, you have to buy a blue one. All right, 75p. If anybody shops there. Okay, so I had my epiphany when I was at IKEA. One day I was doing the reshop. You guys go around, pick up stuff, and you get to till, and then you just drop it on the floor, don't you? Well, Muggins had to pick it up. And I thought to myself, I've got to do better than this. And I began to I was in a particularly problematic relationship. You know when you think you can turn a bad boy good? Ladies, come on, give me a wink. Yeah, if you're loving them enough, care enough, but somehow they change. Anyhow, so I began reading self-help books because I thought I'm in a bit of a pickle here. And my self-help books took me to go back to university. Hey, Brunel. And that eventually got me a job in probation. Yeah, that's often the reaction. Yeah. And I did 8 years behind the door, as they say, but obviously not as an offender, as a probation. And then while I was there, I just thought, my God, I'm filling out lots of paperwork here. It feels like I'm just doing data entry, which he did. And so I thought, the prisoners, you know, I mean, they did lie about their offences, but they always said to me, you make a very good therapist. And I believed them. So I decided to train as a psychotherapist. I just kept going on, I just kept reading, I kept studying, and then in 2012, I started my business, Key for Change. It's all about know your worth. Do we know our worth, people?
Amen.
Yes. Oh, hallelujah, we're doing church. We're doing church. And I just want to big up the man from Minuteman, who I've got my cardie from. I call him Mr. Minuteman. Is it Sass?
So yeah.
So there you go, look at that piece. With pockets and all. Yeah? Spectrum, be familiar with autism and being on the spectrum. Change is very difficult for those folks for obvious reasons in terms of wiring. And there's the borough commander, eh? And the lady who's the mayor. Do you remember her?
Yeah.
Carol. Madam Mayoress. I used to get it wrong all the time. Okay, so I'm a frontline worker, hence picture with the front line. Took me a while to Google search that one, eh? Yeah. Right? And I work from the ground upwards. So yes, I've read my theories and so on and so forth, but what matters to me most as a therapist is people's experience. So that's quite different. When I used to work in the prison, the psychologists had read the DSM-4 and the DSM-5. Have you heard about these books? Basically, it's the manuals that the drug companies fund in America, which is where they diagnose people from. So they'll say you got depression or whatever. But for me, I work very differently, and that caused me certain problems in prison because I didn't think like the psychologists. You know, they're going that way, and I'm like, well, what about his experience? No, he fits this category. So it began to create a bit of a rub. But there are 5 things I know about burnout for the people that come into my room who are brave enough, who get to the point where what they're doing is no longer working. That's why people come to me, really. And all I do as a therapist is show them how they sell themselves short and screw themselves over. Isn't that nice? I said, don't you? I said, just come on, let's have a chat. Let's just see how you sell yourself short and screw yourself over. And it just helps. Make a cup of tea, so let's have a chat. We don't do all that old couch and all that business. It just gets people like, oh God. And then they think, oh, she's quite normal. I think sometimes they might think, well, no, she's all right actually. So the 5 things that I notice is what causes burnout. Masks. People wear masks. Not none of us in here, because we're all right. Yeah? But them out there. Yeah? You know what I'm saying, don't you people? It's not us, it's them. Work-life balance. If it was a seesaw, anybody as a kid been on a seesaw with someone who was a bit fluffy? Yeah? Yeah? You know what I'm saying? Work-life balance, it's gone the other way. Or when you're on a seesaw, somebody jump off. You remember that as a kid? Ow, I'm screwed. Another thing I've noticed is people don't have any passion. Yeah? When they come to me, I say, what do you love? They'll be like, you know, you've forgotten, you know. But don't worry, I've got an exercise to help them with that. And there's something about being realistic. Because certain times, this social media stuff, whew, not all of us were meant to be a size 8 ladies. Yes? Some of us can contour and go to MAC and put all the bits on. But if we don't like who we are inside, what's the problem, peeps? They're never going to change. And so often there's unrealistic expectations that keep governing their life. And sometimes it's not even them, sometimes it's instilled culturally, yeah? So I have lots of Asian clients, we know some challenges with in terms of, you know, you've got to marry the right person and, you know, high academic achievement. There's a shadow side to that sometimes, and I help clients to explore those issues so they get really clear about the pressures that are impacting on them. But also I look at wiring as well, how someone's wired. So sometimes someone might not even know that they might be on the spectrum, and because I'm very attuned to that, and they think they're difficult or something's wrong or the relationships are going haywire, I can help people to get tested. Like, you know, I see therapy as a dance, and if you keep stepping all over my toes, then usually, sometimes it suggests something about the wiring. And so what is the antidote to burnout? I think that Grayson Perry does it particularly well. If you want authenticity, does he not do it particularly well? Oh, did anybody see his documentary on men? Oh, it was really profound about manhood. So there's something about this is back to the title of this, because I have to remember, what's the title of this talk?
How to avoid burnout.
Authenticity. How to be your unique self. Remember, we've got this thumbprint, that's your unique coding. And often, we're all trying to be like everybody else. Remember the game Lemmings? Show my age? We don't diarise what matters. We put everything else in the diary, but we don't put things like, help me out somebody.
Go for a walk.
Exactly.
Exercise.
Sleep.
Oh, sleep, oh yeah, you can do a talk on that one, I can feel that one. Sleep 8 hours, not looking at the phone before, yeah. People don't have no passion, they've given up on it. Or another one that keeps coming up in the room for my high achievers, it's very interesting, is they think that it's not productive. It doesn't give me an outcome. So what's it to me? Oh, there's no outcome, what's the point in that? Maybe just doing it for doing its sake. Yeah? So there's this mindset that's also started to impact on people, which is that it has to be outcome orientated, it has to have a purpose, and actually that is a hindrance if you just want to go and look at leaves because you like leaves. You like leaves, you want to look at leaves, go and look at some leaves. And I'm having to give people permission to go and look at leaves if you love leaves. And they're like, oh, could I just do that? You could. Go and look at some leaves. These are big, big, big victories for people because for some reason they've become disconnected from that. Because everything's starting to become a goal process, outcome, continuous growth. And for the human, that is a problem. These are the things that lead to burnout. And often it's about how can you begin to pursue something you love. When they say, find the job you love and you'll go help me out, people. I can't hear you on the left.
Never have to work again.
Well done. Thank you, chap.
That's what I want.
Yeah, I did, yes. But the number one culprit I see nowadays, my peoples, I think in a number of years it's going to be like fags. You know, like they've got the caution on it, it's taken years. But this is in the room all the time. Sometimes to the point I'm like, you might need to put it on silent while you're here. And even that seems to create an angst. you can't even sit in a therapy session for 50 minutes without this gyrating or vibrating so loud, I'm losing my train of thought. That's particularly problematic. And I think with this, we don't understand what's happening. 5 people talking about the same problem. You think, this isn't, but everybody thinks it's individual, but it's becoming increasingly popular. And it's not just affecting the young. And so one of the challenges I see is people don't know how to be idle anymore. Eh? Do you remember that? Who likes to potter around? Oh my God, don't you love that?
Endlessly watering.
I know, I did it the other day. I thought, I've got no agenda. I've got no agenda. I'm practicing what I preach now. I'm just pottering, looking in the message drawer in the kitchen and leaving it as you do. But that, sometimes I look at my diary and I might panic, like, oh my gosh, I've got no class today. Just have a day off. I don't want no laptop day. Yeah? Very
Dad,
uncomfortable.
I'm bored. Dad, I'm bored. Good. Good.
Exactly. And the challenge we have is we're becoming human doings. We don't know how to be anymore. Does this make sense to you guys? Not to us, because we're all right in this room. It's them out there. And so there's a range of factors for people. I'm doing a bit of self-promotion because if you don't, who will? You know what I'm saying? You don't, who will? The internal factors, and I have a YouTube channel where I make my videos. I haven't got millions of subscribers. I don't understand why I'm still back. The algorithm, apparently. Who's that? Who's the algorithm? I don't know, but it seems to govern my life, trying to catch on this wave. The internal world is unhelpful. We do avoidance. These are the things that lead into burnout, people, avoidance. You know when you know you're falling in love with someone who's slightly problematic sometimes. I don't know about you, but I've got a history of it. Not well, I'm over it now. Just stay single and stay by myself. Yeah? But sometimes we avoid the problem. Sometimes it's our expectations. We're setting the bar too high for ourselves. But sometimes those expectations aren't even ours. They're other people's. They've interjected into us. That's what I kind of like about coming from a council estate. I didn't have that. I didn't have high expectations of myself, really. And so I guess that gives you an underdog psychology, but that's okay, because I kind of like proving other people. When people are like, oh, didn't expect that, well, they don't say it, but you can see it in their face. Non-verbal communication speak volumes. Guilt tripping. What is the biggest issue with guilt tripping, people? Is that? Tripping? You do it to yourself. Or do you do it to yourself? You do?
You allow other people to do it to yourself.
Yes, and then what happens to people if you're constantly going on guilt trips?
Comes a cycle.
Cycle, yeah. For me, it's always about you become a puppet. Yeah? And there's a massive factor that keeps coming up in the room. So I do my videos based on what keeps coming up in the room. What keeps coming up in the room. If people keep guilt tripping you, you're a puppet. They control you, they manipulate you. And then if we think about inauthenticity, that's how we become. That's why we don't play the banjo. Yeah? Because someone tells us we can't play the banjo. That's why if they tell them, go and play the banjo. We're like, oh, I can really play the banjo. Go and play the banjo. Like, oh, just join the banjo cast, Keith. Brilliant, I love you. That's all you needed. You didn't need loads of pills. You need to play the banjo. Yeah? So guilt tripping is a massive one. That's how people control and manipulate you. So if people are guilt tripping you, you'll be very careful of that one. And often another factor is that people don't put themselves first. They put themselves
Last.
and what's the issue with putting yourself last?
Never get there.
There's nothing left.
Exactly. And so I am about helping people to practice healthy selfishness. Yeah? Healthy self, it's okay. Yeah? But that also leads to people needing permission, and sometimes I have to give them until they can do it themselves. Make sense? And self-sabotage. The greatest enemy is within. What do I mean by self-sabotage in terms of our internal world? These are the things that keep showing up again and again. Self-sabotage. what would that look like? Not here, because I know you guys, we're all perfect, but out there.
Like low self-esteem.
Can be, yeah. Self-sabotage can also be happening, you don't even necessarily realise it. So if I think about how are some of the ways that I've self-sabotaged in my life before, sometimes I've really struggled with the class transition, you know? Sometimes I keep going back to what I know and then I'm sort of there and I just think, you don't fit in. Anybody seen Educating Rita? Are we young enough, aren't we? Those are people. You don't know what I'm talking about, do you? You'll have to Google search. Yeah. But you know, it's sometimes you keep going back to what you know and you don't fit in there anymore, and then you kind of don't fit in, and sometimes that's not been helpful for me. It means I've had to let go, yeah, and then occupy a very different space. And so sometimes some of that behaviour for me has been kind of self-sabotaging. So I have to be really mindful of that. Very careful about self-sabotage. That's where we screw ourselves over. That can be about when we say yes to everybody. Any yes people in here, no one's going to admit it because we're going to feel a bit vulnerable. Here's one in there, one and two, and a two, and a two, and a two, and two. Very easy. Now give me a blink in the back. Yeah. And most importantly, what I often see in the room, and potentially one of my own challenges, is our intimate relationships. It all happens there because that's where we're often the most vulnerabilist. And so these are factors that impact on our well-being in terms of our internal world. Now externally, some of the things that lead to burnout, we're going to be looking at, if you go to your doctors, what happens if you say, I'm feeling a little bit down, doc? We know any songs about pills? Shaggy Little Ones?
Jackie's.
Yeah, Lana Morissette. Oh, is it? Oh, I don't. Oh, is it? Oh, that's not my region, that.
Is it not?
Oh, no, I don't. Do you want to sing it? Yeah. No. Anybody else know any songs about pills? This one about Pink. I'm trying to get it in my head. I should have really thought about it because then I could have. And I could run as fast as I. See, it's always one. There's always one who'll join me. Don't worry, next time it's going to be you guys. The challenge is you go to the doctors, you know what it's like. You call up today, you should have, you want to queue up sickness for about 2 weeks ago. If you do 2 weeks ago, then you might get the appointment when you're well. It's a bit of a challenge, but the pills is a challenge. We go to our doctors, they're giving us pills, and we also know that the DSM-5 is also funded by the drug manufacturers. It's not a good marry to my mind. But we're not here for that. We'll have a chat about that after. So we have to be very mindful about that. And if you are lucky enough to be referred for therapy, we know that that's often CBT. Yeah? So that has its benefits. It gives us coping strategies. Do we know what coping strategies are? So it might give you coping strategies if you're feeling sad. It might give you a coping strategy that you have to, write down your helpful thoughts and your unhelpful thoughts. But the challenge, the reason why people come to me is they've done the CBT and they're like, Keeley, I've done the CBT. What's wrong? I don't know what's wrong. Often by the time people come to me, they're thinking about potentially they might want to go and meet the maker, if you know what I'm saying. And so I have to help them to look at, well, it's okay, nothing wrong with you. Yeah? We've got to get to the depth, we've got to go to the root of the tree, right? Because you've got coping strategies, you're coping because there's something that's potentially being avoided. You've got a strategy, but I help people to look at the root cause. Often we didn't get enough loves and hugs from our mums and papas. Really, it's the truth. Keeping it simple. And so we help them to understand that. And then we have the, and then people get it. People get it. The challenge is, like I said, in a prison, CBT was really pushed, so a lot of the psychologists, they all study CBT, but me being me, I thought, I don't like that one, I don't like that one. But they're not funding my one. I thought, well, yeah, but I don't like that one speaks to me, so I had to fund it all myself. Yeah, which is why that gap became between me and the prison, which is where they thought one way and I was thinking another way, in a more holistic way about people. And so that's one of the challenges for people. You get referred to these CBT groups and it's kind of very, here's your coping strategy, and people think they should be fixed by 6 sessions and they're often not, and then they go in on themselves. This whole outcome stuff is really starting to, we're not robots. And so so this whole goal-orientated, achieve, hit one milestone is causing a whole raft of issues for humans, because we are also process-orientated, which is, I have to tell my clients, trust the process. What does that mean? It means trust the process. Sometimes we have to live without not knowing. Yeah? We don't always know, but some people have a need to know. Who's the people who don't like uncertainty in here? It can be challenging. You've got to trust the process. Fear is a big one, and materialism. Who's got the Gucci bag in it? Hey? Prada? Armani? It's the village crew. I knew I'd get there in the end. And so this, funny, yeah, it's really weird up there, isn't it? They've got coach loads of people coming in, coach loads. So here, these are the videos that I make, and here's a little bit of a self-promotion. A share is gold. Please share if you can. Yeah, give your girl a like, give your girl a comment, give your girl a share. Share is gold for me. It's promoting without promoting, and I just hope that my material makes sense. But anybody seen The Matrix? It's one of my favourite films. Seriously, it's a little bit like, by the time people get to me, it's about, I'm showing people the truth, and I don't mince words because I want the best for you, And that about us waking up and becoming to see things as they are, rather than how they want us to be. For so many of us, working the 9-to-5 jobs, unless we get leverage from parents, how likely is it we're going to get houses? Or is everybody affluent here and I'm in the wrong group? Yeah? But it's very tricky. I was a probation officer for 8 years and never had a pay rise. I left on 25k. So after a while you think, well, I might as well take my chances on my own, because this is candle in the wind. Change the front, but you know what I'm saying? It just felt like, what was the point? So it's very challenging, and I think there is something about beginning to realise that, and that's why I'm such an advocate of being authentic, because you just never know where that's going to lead. Yeah? So the massive factor is definitely stress. And I write about this in my new book. Woo! School without no GCSEs. Get that dust off your shoulder. You know what I'm saying? Big up. Don't leave me hanging. You gotta learn to roll with it. HMP taught me well. Anything, bring it in. And so, one of the things that I noticed is actually it may be beneficial to go for a dumb phone, people. Yeah? Look at her, she's tapping away there, look.
I'm doing a story about you.
Go on, girl, go on. I think there is a massive benefit to going back to something more simple. My mum still got it. She never did the upgrade. The phone that doesn't, you don't charge it for a week. You play Snake. Right? It's good for hand-eye coordination, that. But I do believe there is something about that, because this is continuous. And I am advocate, in my book I talk about doing an audit of our devices. We need to do an audit of our devices, because if we're feeling anxious and we're feeling stressed, if we're feeling anxious and we're on the verge of burnout, this is fundamental that you do a check on it. Block 'em, ladies. Block him. On all platforms. You're blocking him on WhatsApp and then you're leaving the door open on Instagram. Shut it down. Let him write a letter, knock a door. Not you, mate, you're old school. You're generous. Nowadays it's all the friends with benefits stuff, that's another talk. But that's for people out there, not this real way. So what I've created, because WhatsApp, is anybody here on WhatsApp?
Yeah.
Give me a show of hands so I know I'm barking up the right tree. This WhatsApp is in my therapy room every day. 2 blue ticks. What is it doing to people? No, I heard you there. 2 blue ticks. What did it do to you when you get your 2 blue ticks? Somebody. You see? Wait for a reply. Not ready. Don't mean I can reply. See? What about when you get a silhouette? Silhouette shame. What does that suggest? Silhouette shame. Silhouette shame. Silhouette. What happens if you see a silhouette on a contact you know? You've been blocked. Yes. Yeah. Oh, you got a couple of them, ain't ya? Yeah. Silhouette, darling. That's why you're a silhouette. Yeah. She's online. What does that do to you? You've had two blue ticks. She's online.
She's still got one on her back.
How's that make you feel? I've got to get off Tinder, bruv. She's got an event next week.
Okay.
Get down the pub, meet people face to face. It's the way to go, I tell you. Yeah? This online stuff could drive you nuts. Yeah? And then they change the profile pic on you, ain't they? Hey? Put one of them little messages. Hey? What about that? Some of those messages are a little slap in the face for because you know they're talking to us, aren't they? But they're not brave enough to say it. This is the stuff that keeps coming up in the room. This is what comes up. Like I said to you guys, I'm working from the ground up. I'm not making this up all in my fancy head. It's what's hurting people and what is impacting. And WhatsApp is a big one for people. And so what I've created is, you can find it there. That's my bit.ly link. I couldn't get it all lovely and neatly. I'll have to ask my assistant Karen. You know, you got an assistant in you. To get it all lovely. But I've created this tool that gives people 15 tips to help them best look after themselves. And yes, texting can be one of them, because what happens when we text people? Talk to me, bro.
It's not as text is just straightforward.
Have they read it? I don't know. It's gone. Jobs are gone. I don't know if he's online, offline. I don't know if he's read it, deleted it. I don't know. I don't know if he changed WhatsApp. I don't care. Text gone. Yeah? That can be particularly helpful. Yeah? And if any of you have got partners who've got Find My Partner apps, have you got any of this? Because this keeps coming up in the room as well. Some sort of tracking device on people's partners, that they know exactly where they are. Yeah? If you've got partners doing that, inbox me, yeah? Inbox me. Because they don't need to know where you are at 24/7. But like I said to you, find me on YouTube, a share is a gold for me. So for me, it's about self-care. Firstly, self-care isn't selfish. For all the people who just give abundantly, self-care is not selfish. But when you start to put practices in place to look after yourself, you're going to meet resistance. The voice in your head is going to start kicking off. You're going to find 101 reasons why you can't do it. Why is that? Because what was good for us, like kale, we often avoid. Yeah? We often avoid what's good for us. How many excuses did you have not to go to the gym this morning at 6 o'clock?
I'm not a member, it's the only excuse.
Every morning I'm going to be there at 6. My mind's aye. You've got to let the others catch up. But what is most fundamental is also sometimes people avoid safe people because sometimes you go for the excitement, and that is important. We need to audit who we spend our time around. But anytime you put self-care practices in place, you will find 101 excuses because now you're going to hit your resistance, and that is why people burn out. The reason why is because people come to me often in crisis because they won't put the self-care measures in place, and so usually that ends up when things have gotten particularly tricky, and I think that's demonstrated particularly well with Ant and his, which was one of my most popular videos, got 4,000 views on that. And I got cursed as well. I was like, wow, I'm really living it now. You're wrong. Challenge is peaks, we've got to get out of our own way. The enemy is often within, yeah? And everything is energy. My daughter's gone now. I could have channeled my energy into worrying about her dad and why he didn't love me and why he wouldn't come back and why he's gone off with another bird. But you know what I did with that energy? Picked up a book, started to read. And today I've created, somebody tell me, keep for change.
Yes.
There we go. You see, everything is energy. Everything is energy. The same energy we use to worry about if they're online or they're offline is the same energy we can channel into something more productive, to become authentic, to become true to ourselves. And so this is the challenge, really. I came across this in prison, and I think the 2% mindset most people we're living in our comfort zones. Most people, it takes crisis for us to go and do something to make a change. And I get it. I don't curse people. They come to me in crisis. They do it. It's life. But we can do things differently. And so what I am offering, these are some of the guys I've worked with. IBB solicitors. We did a recent video, hey, on sexual abuse with Malcolm. Very, profound work that he does to support people when we work in partnership. And I am offering a MOT service, a life assessment for people, only £69. We're not going to delve into your past, but it's about where you are now and where you want to be. That's the coaching side. Some people who don't want to do the depth, and that's cool. It's about where you are and where you want to be. And I also do corporate packages. If you have a group of people, you want an engaging speaker, am I not that? Woo! Come in, have a word with the staff, because people need someone to talk to. Sometimes we're bottling it all up. I can be that person. Like I said, shares are gold. There it is. You can find me here. I've got a little office here in Beasley's Yard. You probably walk past it as you go for the shortcut. WhatsApp. You can download my 15 tips here. Any questions? Whew.
Where did you get your emoji?
Well, this is for my clients who are very heady. So my corporate clients are often very heady and thinking outcomes, yeah? So they're very cognitive. I saw this in one of them funny card shops, like accessorize, yeah. So often what happens is they don't have feelings in their language. There's no feelings. So then I say, because emojis are very popular now, I'm just like, right, get the emoji sheet out. How does it make you feel? And we can always nail it there. Because for whatever reason, it might be how we're wired, we don't necessarily are able to articulate ourselves from an emotional place, and I'm all about helping people because we're emotional beings, aren't we? Yeah. Are we not?
Yeah.
Any questions? Don't bombard. There's only one of me. Somebody, anybody. Liam, I feel like there's a question burning to come out of you there. No. Somebody save a sister up here. One question. Thank you.
If you don't know that you're in burnout, that you actually are.
What if you don't know?
Yeah.
Well, then start looking in your waste paper bag. Usually you start to notice either you're doing something more of,
Yeah.
or something's gone. So if you start smoking a little bit more fags, a little bit more drink, yeah, you'll start to notice another thing that happens with my clients, and I'm by no means into the body stuff, but they get the ulcers. You've got the grinding of teeth, yeah? You get the bowel issues. I do ask people, when we last time you had a little, because that all impacts. See, here we go. There you go. So these are all the factors. But I think it's about, you starting to know for yourself what starts to go and what comes in. I know for me, if I start eating McDonald's, it may sound silly, but that's a sign of me, like, my dad used to buy it for us when we was kids and it always made me feel good. So I have that emotional relationship with food. So I know if I'm eating rubbish food, I've got to be like, what's up, Key? What's up, Key? I have to get into my head. So these are the behaviours are really important to pay attention to. The extra stuff that you start to consume or you start to leave out, yeah? And if you've got BO, well then you know as well, as you don't start, you're not taking care like we used to in it, little things in it really, if the roll-on don't go on and people are like, oh, I smelled it before I saw you. It's all a little sign. Without further ado, that's that.